Ever been publicly shamed at 7 a.m. by a bathrobe-wearing dictator citing community standards you never agreed to? Watched your peaceful snow removal turn into a viral crime on neighborhood Facebook while the real trespasser films it? Discovered the HOA queen bee has been rolling her Mercedes over your private land for decades without a clue? Picture this. Willow Creek Estates, Colorado, one of those picture-perfect suburbs where every lawn is mowed to military precision, and the HOA rules read like the 10 Commandments written by a control freak. I'm Ethan Caldwell, 48, retired civil engineer, living quietly at 1247 Maple Street just outside their gilded gates. For 27 years I've done the same thing every winter morning. Fire up Dad's old Toro Power Max at exactly 7 a.m. Clear my driveway before the world wakes up. Simple respect. No drama. 15th, 2024. Snow was coming down like the sky had a grudge. 8 inches and counting. Steam rising from my coffee. The engine's growl the only sound in the sleeping neighborhood. Halfway through my second pass, the front door of 15 Willow Creek Drive exploded open like a bad sitcom. Out charged Victoria Harrington, Vicky to her fans, President Harrington to anyone unlucky enough to cross her, wrapped in a screaming pink bathrobe that flapped like a flamingo having a nervous breakdown. Rubber boots, hair looking electrocuted, phone already recording in selfie mode. "Turn that death machine off right now," she shrieked across the 50 yards between us. I killed the engine, earbuds out, trying to be neighborly. "Morning, ma'am." Wrong question. It's 7:03 a.m. HOA Covenant Section 4.2 clearly states, no mechanical disturbances before 8 a.m. to preserve the sanctity of dawn. You're violating community standards and terrorizing families with children. She waved the phone like a holy relic. Look everyone. This outsider is breaking our peace. By now half the street was watching. Mrs. N twitched. Teenagers filmed from porches to enjoy the show. Vicky planted herself directly in front of my snowblower, arms crossed, robe billowing in the wind like a cape of self-appointed authority. "Either shut it down or I'm calling 911 for noise assault," she announced to her livestream followers. The volume was pure theater. She didn't just want me to stop, she wanted the whole subdivision to see her win. I could have kept going. Morally. But smart money said don't run over the crazy lady on camera. So I turned the Toro off. Render. Vicky's smile was pure venom wrapped in sugar. "That's how we handle rule breakers here," she announced loud enough for the mailman to hear, then spun on her heel and marched back inside, probably already editing her public service announcement. I stood there in my own driveway, half-cleared snow mocking me, holding dead equipment while neighbors who'd known me for years stared like I just confessed to murder. Vicky's parting shot echoed in my head. "Next time ask permission before you disturb decent people. Ask permission. On my own property." A time I'd used peacefully longer than she'd lived in Willow Creek. I wheeled the machine back into the garage with shaking hands. The man in the side mirror looked small for the first time in my life. But something else crystallized right there among the oil stains and Christmas lights. Vicky Harrington had just made the biggest mistake of her HOA presidency. She'd used imaginary power to humiliate a man who still owned the actual ground her kingdom drove on every single day. 4.5 hours later the certified mail arrived. Noise violation notice case 2024-00001. $750 fine plus $150 per day until compliance. They didn't even bother learning my name. Just, resident at 1247 Maple Street. The letter quoted bylaws I'd never signed, threatened collection agencies, and sounded like I'd been operating a rock concert at midnight instead of quietly clearing snow at dawn. I called my old buddy Mike, the real estate attorney. Sent him the letter. "This is harassment, Ethan. You're not in their HOA, they have zero jurisdiction." He fired off a cease and desist that afternoon. 2 pages of polished legal language that should have ended it. Vicky's reply came the next morning. Another fine, same amount, plus a note that my failure to respond appropriately had been reported to the board. She'd ignored the legal letter like junk mail and doubled down. When Mike threatened to sue for harassment, he laughed bitterly. Litigation would cost you 20 grand minimum. She's betting you won't fight over $750. Police? Civil matters, sir. City council meeting? We don't regulate private HOAs. Every door slammed in my face with the same polite shrug. Meanwhile, Vicky's edited video, Morning Menace Alert, was blowing up the neighborhood Facebook group. My ma'am, I don't live in your HOA had been sliced out and replaced with jump cuts that made me look like a raging lunatic. Comments poured in. This is why we need strong HOAs. Someone call CPS before he escalates. I drive past that house with my kids, now I'm scared. Daily anonymous noise complaints flooded the city hotline. Cars slowed past my house like I was a zoo exhibit. Neighbors started avoiding eye contact. Mrs. with cookies and a scripted speech. Maybe just apologize, Ethan. Be the bigger person. Jake Morrison, the young dad who'd seen the real confrontation, admitted she was out of line but warned, fighting an HOA can bankrupt you. She's retired, she's got time and money. You don't. Then came the final insult. A letter from the fictional Metropolitan Property Owners Alliance, threatening to ban me from community common areas. Pure fabrication. Vicky had invented an entire organization to legitimize her power trip. Standing in my kitchen holding that ridiculous paper, I felt the switch flip. No more defense. I headed to the basement where Dad's meticulous files had gathered dust for 15 years. Boxes labeled in his neat handwriting. I started with the 1980s pile, correspondence with Sunset Hills Development Corporation, the builders who'd put up Willow Creek Estates. One folder stopped me cold. Temporary construction easement. 1987. The letters were crystal clear. Dad had granted them temporary access across the eastern edge of our property, so their trucks wouldn't clog Maple Street during construction. 18 months max. In September 1988, all rights terminated automatically. The road they built was never meant to be permanent. Yet here we were 36 years later, and every single resident of Willow Creek was still driving across my land every day like it was their divine right. I called Mike at 7 a.m. He was in his office within the hour. When he read the notarized agreement, his eyebrows shot up. Ethan, this expired in 1988. They've been trespassing ever since. You can revoke the entire access road with 60 days notice. No compensation required. Your property. The field walk confirmed it. 7 homes crossed exactly 200 feet of my land. No alternate route, wetlands on one side, commercial zoning on the other. I owned the only way in or out. We drafted the notices that same afternoon. 60-day easement termination. Certified mail to every single household. Copies of the 1987 agreement attached. Legal. Saturday morning, the postal truck rolled through Willow Creek like the angel of property law doom. 47 identical envelopes hit mailboxes at the same moment. I watched from my kitchen window as the panic rippled outward like a stone dropped in still water. Phones started ringing before the mailman even left the subdivision. I saw Mrs. driveway staring at the paper like it was written in Martian. Jake Morrison paced his lawn shouting into his cell. Vicky's house lights flipped on one after another as the neighborhood phone tree went nuclear. By noon, an emergency HOA meeting was called for Sunday. Mandatory attendance. The community center overflowed. Local news vans parked outside. Vicky took the stage in full president mode, gesturing wildly toward my house. This is extortion. One rogue neighbor is holding our families hostage over a Snowblower dispute. The room didn't cheer like she expected. Jake stood first. Vicky. You harassed a man who never signed our covenants, edited videos to paint him as a monster, and now we find out our entire road has been illegal for 36 years. Murmurs turned to shouts. Mrs. cracked. You fined my 7-year-old grandson $200 for sidewalk chalk and called it vandalism. You threatened to call child services. Victim after victim stood. Illegal fines, fabricated violations, secret recordings. The investigator the board had quietly hired laid it all out. Vicky had run the HOA like a personal fiefdom for 5 years, using community standards to settle scores and silence anyone who questioned her. The vote of no confidence was 43-4. She was removed on the spot. I watched from my upstairs window as Vicky packed her HOA office the next day, alone. No one helped carry boxes. The same phones that once shared her Morning Menace videos now filmed her walk of shame to the parking lot. Monday morning she showed up at my door, makeup smudged, robe replaced by a designer tracksuit that somehow still looked defeated. This is illegal. Families. I leaned against the doorframe, calm as the snow I'd finally been allowed to clear again. Actually, it's property law, Vicky. Your lawyer already confirmed it. The legal consult at the county's most expensive firm was brutal. Jennifer Walsh billed $750 an hour to tell the board, Mr. Caldwell is 100% correct. Fighting this is frivolous and will cost you 6 figures with 0 chance of winning. The special assessment to fund a lawsuit? $2,800 per household. Dead on arrival, by Thursday Vicky's for sale sign was up. She fled to Oregon 2 weeks later, tail between her legs, community reputation in ruins. The new interim president, Mike Santos, knocked on my door the following Tuesday with a manila folder and zero attitude. We understand the road crosses your land. We'd like to negotiate a fair permanent easement. No threats. No spin. My terms were simple. $15,000 per year, clear boundaries, written apology from the former board acknowledging the harassment, and a zero-tolerance policy for future nonsense. They signed the same afternoon. 6 months later Willow Creek feels human again. New families wave when I clear my driveway at 7 a.m. Kids sled on the gentle slope behind my garage. Mrs. Coffee. Jake's boys call me Mr. Annual payment covers property upgrades that benefit everyone. A new fence, brighter road lights, even a little veteran scholarship fund. Sometimes the quietest victories roar the loudest. Vicky played queen with fake rules and edited videos. I simply read the fine print on a 36-year-old piece of paper. Petty tyrants always dig their own graves. Real ownership just hands them the shovel. And the lesson? Check your property lines before you pick a fight with the guy who owns the ground under your feet. HOA Karens thrive on control until one dusty deed flips the script. Patience plus paperwork beats pink bathrobes and power trips every single time. Stay sharp out there.